In this video, we're going to learn about the 7 basic array methods that every JavaScript developer should know. But before we start, I want to mention that in this video, we're not going to cover what are arrays and how to create them. However, if you want to have a brief introduction on arrays in JavaScript, make sure to check our video on this channel by clicking on the link that is going to show up right now somewhere in the screen. So the first method that we're going to look at is the push method. This method allows you to add one or more elements to the end of the array. If we look at this example, notice that we're adding numbers from 6 to 10 to our existing array using the push method. And if we run this code, we see that these numbers have effectively been added, and now our array is containing numbers from 0 to 10. Next, the pop method. This method removes the last element of an array and returns the removed element. In this example, we're taking the same array as in the previous example and using the push method on it to remove and return the last element. Now, if we run the code, you can see that the last element, which is in this case the number 5, has been removed from the array and returned that we can print it to the console. Next, the UNSHIFT method. This method is similar to the push method, but instead of adding elements to the end of the array, it adds them to the beginning of the array. In this following example, we're using UNSHIFT to add some elements to the beginning of the numbers array. And if we run this piece of code, we see that the array has been changed and the new element have been added to its beginning. Next, the shift method. Again, as the pop method, it does remove an element, but this time not the last one, but instead the first one in the array, and returns the removed element. Let's have a look at this example. If we run this actual code, we can see that the element has been removed from the array and that the removed element, which is the number 0, is printed to the console. Next, the INDEXOF method. This method is quite useful and it returns the index of the first element that's strictly equal to the provided element. In this example, we're trying to get the index of the first element in the array, which holds the letter C. If we run this code, we see that we're getting 2, as it is the index at which the first element holding the value C is found. Now we can also provide a second argument to tell from which index in the array should the search begin. Again, if we run this piece of code, we see that we're getting -1, which means that the element has not been found, as we have started the search from the element at the index 2. And our element we're looking for is at the index 1 of the array. Next, the slice method. This method gives you a shallow copy of a portion of an array. Let's see this first example. We want to get a copy of a portion of the mixed array by using the slice method. Here we're providing 2 arguments to the method. The first argument represents the index at which the extraction should begin, and the second argument represents the index before which the extraction ends. And if we run this piece of code, we see that we're getting a new array containing a portion which is a shallow copy of the same portion in the original array. And to prove that is a shallow copy that is made, let's compare the same element in both arrays. If we run the code, you see that we're getting true as both elements refer to the same object in memory, which means that it is just a shallow copy that is made and not a deep one. Another thing to mention is that if we don't provide arguments to the slice method, the entire array is going to be copied as we do in this example. If we run the code, you see that we're getting an entire shallow copy of the original array. And finally, the splice method, which can be used whether to remove elements from an array or add new elements to an array or even replacing existing elements of an array. Let's see each one of these cases one by one. In this first example, we're simply going to remove a portion of an array starting from the index 1 and counting 2 elements. So if we run this code, we see that the elements Wikipedia and Twitter have been removed from the array. Now let's do something else. Let's insert Facebook at the index 2. Notice that we're providing 0 as a second argument to tell the function to don't remove any element, just insert the given element. If we run the code, you see that Facebook has been added to the index 2 in the array. What if we want to remove elements in the array and replace them by new ones? All we need to do is to provide the count of elements to remove and the new elements to insert to the splice method. If we run this example, we can see that we're removing 1 element starting from the index 1, which is in this case Wikipedia, and inserting 2 new elements which are YouTube and Facebook respectively. Alright, now we are at the end of today's video. Thanks for watching and see you soon.